Hey everybody, this is John with the Active Towns channel, and I am joined here by a special guest, Nick Oyler. Hey Nick, how are you? Yeah. Why don't you do a real quick introduction? Who the heck is Nick Oyler?
Yeah, thanks John. Happy to be here with you. Thanks for the invite. So I'm Nick Oyler. I currently work at Toole Design. I'm the planning manager in our Denver office. Been here for about a year and a half now in Denver. We're about to explore my neighborhood, Central Park. Be happy to talk about everything design-wise, good, bad, ugly along the way. Yeah, prior to being with Toole Design, my career is mostly on the public government side of things. I was at the city of Memphis for almost 7 years as the bicycle pedestrian program manager. I worked a little bit in Germany as a transportation planner. And yeah, now I'm with Toole Design and bringing skills and expertise around creating people-centric places to communities across the country.
All right, well let's go check out Central Park.
Sounds great.
All right, roll in that direction?
Yeah.
Okay.
So we are going to first check out the town center.
Okay.
Go this way.
So how long have you been here in Central Park now?
A year and a half, a little over a year and a half.
Okay, so this is where you moved to. So
yes. Yeah. Well, the first couple months while the school year was finishing in Memphis, I came out here, got an apartment downtown.
Okay, downtown, got it.
And then my family joined me.
So you had a little bit of a couple of months to figure out what neighborhood you really wanted to settle in.
That's right.
Got it.
That's right.
Got it.
And as a good planner, there were some criteria really important to me.
Yeah.
Wanted it to be a good walkable, take a left here.
Okay.
Good walkable, bikeable neighborhood. Okay. I wanted to have some good transit access. My office is downtown, so knowing that in the winter, it was probably gonna snow more than I was used to.
Right.
Wanted to have a backup for biking.
Yeah.
We'll take a left here if it's clear. All right. So yeah, Central Park definitely checked those boxes.
Right.
It is a new urbanist style community, and I know we're going to be talking a lot about this, but it's the redevelopment of the former airport for Denver, the old Stapleton Airport.
Right, right.
Redevelopment started in the late 90s and has been going through today. And even today, the last phase of construction is still underway.
Last phase, okay.
So yeah, I mean, it was generally walkable, bikeable, good transit connections. My kids who are in elementary school, they can walk to school. Okay. We'll pass their school a little later. You get a sense of that. Yeah, so it definitely checked many of our boxes.
Okay, fantastic. And you had mentioned, sort of like a new urbanist sort of development platform, and we're noticing a lot of porches, and we're also noticing a lot of, we passed a couple of alleys along the way here, and so yeah, we're seeing that the development is such that it's a little different than your standard suburban context, single family home with big 2 and 3 car garages being the main thing that you see on the curb. So the curb appeal is much different.
That's right, that's right. So you got some of those typical urban design features of new urbanism that you just called out, your front porches. It's a lot denser. Houses are closer together, smaller yards, they're closer to the street, creating that kind of enclosed space along the street frontage.
Yeah, yeah.
That is, important for having a nice walkable, good walkable feeling.
Yeah.
But in addition to those urban design features, the land use as well. So unlike most of your stereotypical suburban, housing developments, there's more of a mix in housing types here.
Okay.
I'd argue they could have probably gone a little farther. Right. Even more. But in addition to a single family detached housing, there are apartments, there are duplexes, fourplexes. So we're starting to see some of that diversity now as we enter the town center, and we're gonna go left at the stop sign here. Okay. So yeah, this is the town center area, and it is ringed by mid-rise apartments with ground floor retail. Okay. Now again, I moved here a year and a half ago, so I don't want to by any means claim to be an expert on Denver in general or this development.
Yeah, no, that's fine. And in fact, I think that's a good context for you to talk about it is, what you know based on how, you made the decision to move here and what you've discovered in the last year and a half. That's
right.
That's a good context.
Some fresh eyes.
Yeah, fresh eyes, yeah.
So yeah, from my understanding, this town center area was in part of the first phase of development.
Yeah.
So even though we call it town center, it's actually not at the center of Central Park. It's on the western edge.
Let's actually roll up here for a second.
Sure.
Yeah, I wanted to roll up here real quick because this looks like a nice center park area. It looks like it's called the Green. And the Founder's Green. And you look at this and you realize, well, wait a minute, let's roll towards this. This is kind of cool. This is a cool feature. I like this. And you realize and you see how this is sloped, and you sort of understand that that's a little amphitheater there.
It is, yeah.
And so this is a little natural amphitheater. It also most likely serves as a little bit of a stormwater runoff. If I bet you right down there by that fence is probably
inlet,
a little inlet or a well of sorts to deal with heavy water coming in.
That's right.
But yeah, what a neat little area there. Now I saw that there were some signs about the winter something, and it looks like they've got something going on over there. Are they going to set up for some sort of a winter setup here?
It might be the holiday market.
Holiday market type of thing,
yeah. So I agree. I have my own suspicions that it's also doubling as a stormwater feature.
Yeah.
I've never seen water stalled here, but I suspect that as well. But I've definitely seen it used as a community space.
Well, and it's with a normal heavy rain, it's such a big sponge that what's happening, anything that kind of flows off of the impervious cover is going to hopefully soak up pretty fast.
Right.
But, yeah.
But yeah, in the summertime, there's almost a weekly outdoor concert, play happening on the stage there. There's a weekly farmers market that happens right where we're standing, all in this space here.
Yeah, so let's swing around here. So we've got this whole space here.
And then, usually throughout the year there'll be some other special events, like I was saying, holiday market. They do I think a Halloween event, 4th of July event. So it really is the community heart of Central Park, I would say.
Yeah. And I'm noticing too, you'd mentioned, you've got some first floor retail here, as well as we've got a nice little pizza place over in this area. Very cool.
Yeah. And as we continue this way, it's even more retail. I believe some of these spots are still trying to recover from the pandemic.
Okay.
Some vacant spots,
right.
But within the last few months, just with me being here, we've seen new things opening up, so it seems like coming back.
Yeah, and off in that direction, we see another pizza place and a Chipotle.
Of course, what all the pedestrian-friendly frontages here are hiding is parking.
Right.
So behind most of these structures, there is some structured parking.
Okay.
Or underground.
Yeah. I like these natural elements with these. It's almost like a Stonehenge sort of look.
Right, yeah.
This is
that's a great
cool.
water feature in the summer.
Yeah.
Great place for kids to play in. And to your right there is kind of a little Main Street vibe.
Very nice. Looks like there's something missing here.
I think that's where the tree's going. The Christmas tree.
There's a new tree coming in, huh? Or the Christmas tree.
Yeah, Christmas tree.
Got it. So do you guys have a favorite haunt where you like to go to and eat as a family?
We like going to an area called Stanley Market.
Okay.
We'll go there, pass there a little later. Maybe we'll grab a beer there ourselves.
Okay.
Go to the right here.
I see a little bakery cafe there.
So what I wanted to point out is, again, you have parking behind, so you have your buildings acting as a screen,
right,
creating that more pedestrian-friendly streetscape.
Right.
But the main thing I want to come back here and point out is that right here you have a branch of the Denver Public Library,
Okay.
which I think is an important asset. A lot of times from what I've seen, we can go right, parking lot.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of times what I've seen in these kind of new urbanist developments, they have a great town center, neighborhood retail like we just passed through.
Mm-hmm.
But what's missing is a truly public facility.
Right.
Because oftentimes these are undertaken by, fully 100% private interest.
Right.
So that truly public facility is left out. So I
Yeah.
think it's great that here, there is this public building with public meeting spaces, obviously all the benefits that come from a library in general.
Right.
Yeah, why don't we just cut through here? Okay, and we'll take a left at this stop sign.
Cool. Yeah, what does this say? Winter welcome here.
Oh, there we go. Yeah, what is that?
Friday, November 22nd. Maybe that's when they're going to do the tree lighting.
They light the tree, yeah.
Yeah.
I think that's what it is. So left here.
And we're rolling down, just sort of a shared space situation here. Very reminiscent of many European shared space situations, except for doesn't have the fancy red bricks of most of the shared streets.
Right.
that
You don't
send
have
a
that
message.
No
That send a
clickety-clack
message.
of the cobblestones underneath you.
Yeah.
But it is great with the landscaping. I mean, you got all the street trees here that are, again, reinforcing that closed space feeling as you travel down, which
Right.
have lots of benefits. They can be traffic calming,
Yeah.
clean the air, and just provide a beautiful place to be in.
Yeah. And of course we have a natural surface trail pathway right through the median here.
Yeah, so that's an interesting feature. This is kind of like almost like a boulevard feeling.
Yeah.
I kind of think of that median space as the front yard for these row homes
Right.
along here.
Yeah, and again, we saw, that young lady, it looks like she had a graduation gown on, getting some photographs, in that green space. And then, yeah, you've got your row houses. That's kind of a cool little feature here.
Yeah, we actually looked at one of these when we were trying to find something in
Yeah.
the neighborhood.
Yeah. And again, more of that center median. Again, natural surface there. And then an alley of trees. You've got 2 rows of trees right through there.
Yeah, it's a nice little promenade.
Yeah.
Let's see,
Unfortunately, we're still, sitting, in a door zone bike lane.
Right.
Not ideal.
That's why we both keep looking over our shoulder every now and then
Yeah.
to make sure we're not about to get sideswiped here or something.
Yeah, yeah.
Let's see.
Well, and we do see that, folks are driving very, very slowly here. It's 25 miles per hour, and it really is, look at that delightful side street there. Just nice tree-lined street, especially this time of year with all the fall colors. Is absolutely gorgeous.
Right. You're visiting the right time.
Yes. It's much cooler than my my August filming in the downtown area.
Oh, yeah.
So that was a hot day. But yeah, what I was saying is that we're in this
Up here on the left on that curb ramp. There.
Okay, we're going to go on the curb ramp up here to the left. It seems relatively slow through here because I think drivers know to go slow.
Right.
But at the same time, it sure would be nice to have a little bit more thought in terms of traffic calming and/or if we really are going to be mixing it up, maybe
Right.
Maybe shift that parking over and be a parking protected bike lane through that space.
Right.
So I know I may be like nitpicking and all of that, but at the same time,
yeah.
when we talk about trying to create a space that's truly all ages and abilities.
Right. I guess we can go left here.
Okay.
Could have stayed on the street, I suppose, but you got a little feel of the promenade there.
Yeah,
Go
thanks.
to the left. Yeah, it reminds me of actually a street I think we've both ridden on together in Amsterdam. believe it was called Safirti
Okay.
Strat, something like that. And yeah, it was one lane divided, one lane each direction with a median. But it was a shared lane.
Yeah.
And you know, in true Dutch style, they had colored it red.
Yep.
And every so often, at a certain interval, had a speed hump.
Yep.
So it really drastically calmed traffic.
Yeah, yeah.
So yeah, you could do something similar there. You could add maybe speed humps. You could have a bump out or bulb out into that parking lane every so often, just to narrow it even more.
Yeah.
All right, so now remember, this is all former airport.
Right.
So up here, you're about to see really the first indication of what used to be here.
Right.
And that's the old air traffic control tower down to the front right there.
Look at that.
So basically that area where the town center, where we stopped and got off, that all used to be the main terminal building in that area.
Okay.
So yeah, the traffic control tower was retained and has now been repurposed as a bar, restaurant, entertainment space. They got putt-putt, they got bowling alleys in there, virtual golf, and my son's 5-year-old birthday in there.
Okay, all right. Little event space like that, very nice. And this is obviously a massive, massive strode.
This is MOK, major east-west roadway through Central Park.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would say, you know, we've been seeing, we'll see more signs that when Central Park was developed and all these streets were designed, or especially in the first phases.
Right.
You know, I think active transportation was catching on. This was late 90s, early 2000s, but it wasn't quite there yet. Like the protected bike lane wasn't really a concept in the US yet.
Yeah.
So a lot of these roadways, I think if Denver were building them now, they would be very different. In fact, I know they would be very different because I know they have a whole new set of design standards that you know, we helped with at Toole Design. So I think they would look different if they had just been built 10 years later.
Yeah, a decade later. So they're a generation kind of ahead, you know, in the fact that they didn't have that ability to include the most recent design standards into the street layout. And because if you can build it the right way, right off the bat, it's a hell of a lot easier than coming back and trying to retrofit.
Absolutely. That's why something I always say when we're starting out with a conceptual design for a project is you got to aim as high as you possibly can.
Yeah.
Because by the time that design gets its way all the way from, you know, concept to final construction documents, being built in the field, time's going to pass.
Yeah.
And whatever is really a progressive, novel idea today, 5 years from now, could be out of date, or maybe something better, you know, has come along. So it's really important that you always aim as high as you can.
Yeah.
All right, we got a green, we'll pass through here.
So this is 35th Avenue.
So again, you see like basic bike lanes.
Yeah.
Maybe, I don't know, but maybe when this was built originally, you know, 15, 20 years ago, whenever it was, maybe that basic bike lane at the time for Denver was novel, or, you know, special.
Or,
But we went back today.
Yeah.
I saw plenty of width there.
Yeah.
It could have easily have been a buffer bike lane, if not truly a separated.
Right. And that brings up a really good point, as most of this has been planned out and platted out years in advance. And so it's, you know, even if it's relatively new and going in, maybe they're not necessarily feeling what, you know, feeling the...
Just stop right up here in this little area.
Feeling the sense of urgency to redo the street, you know, plan, because it's already been sort of planned with just the painted bike lanes over there. But in reality, a city wouldn't do that these days, because we all know that a painted bike lane is a substandard bike lane. At the very least, you're doing a buffer with, you know, some flex posts in there for enhanced separation. So.
Right. The research has come so much farther than it was 20 years ago.
Yeah.
Wanted to point out another feature that you see a lot in these new urbanist developments. So again, we've talked about how you have your buildings that front the street, they screen the parking. So this is really like a textbook example of that. This is one block, city block. It's been completely surrounded by some residential on the west side, the south side, the north side has the townhomes. On the east side, we have a grocery store. We have some other single-story retail there. So this is an example of, I think, where it has matched the theory of the idea to a T.
Right.
But in practice, I would say this is really not, in my opinion, in terms of creating a walkable environment, this has not worked out. Because it's this massive block that if this were in a downtown location, this would probably be 3, maybe 4 city blocks.
Right.
They're much shorter, more permeability to get through the block.
Yeah.
But because of the way it's laid out, this massive size, this massive parking lot here in the middle, as a pedestrian, you would have to walk, all the way around this block if you're trying to get across it.
Yeah.
So, just wanted to point it out as an example of where, like, the theory is good.
Yeah.
But in practice, there's room for improvement.
Yeah. It does seem like if we roll just a little bit here, gonna do just a little bit of loop, we've got, Sprouts Market here, and we just have this massive, massive sea of asphalt still. So you still are dealing with just this huge surface parking lot.
Right.
And so you have to ask, well, gosh, if there's such a shortage of housing and housing is so expensive, how can we afford to have a sea of asphalt?
Right.
Is this the highest and best use of land when you have a shortage of housing? And also to your point too is it seems like they're because of they're kind of hiding the parking. I almost said the housing. They're hiding the housing for the cars in this little center area. But at the same time, if you have this much free parking, you're also just like incentivizing people to drive instead of do it. Let's hang her right here just so you can also kind of point out that, yeah, I mean, if you happen to live in these units right here, you're gonna definitely, walk to the grocery store, and you're gonna, maybe walk to these other businesses that you're at, but your walk is not necessarily a very pleasant walk. It's not like you're walking down a tree-lined scape, townscape. You're basically strolling across a sea of asphalt. Yeah, I hear you.
It's still a car-oriented development.
Yeah.
Masquerading as pedestrian-friendly.
Right. Yeah. Agreed.
You can turn around.
Agreed. Okay. You're right. I mean, it's kind of like, okay, we're going to try to do this from an urbanism perspective, but oh, by the way, we still have our parking minimums that we have to hit.
Right.
And, because we haven't really changed the zoning associated with that. And so you're still providing an entire, sea of asphalt surface level parking lot.
Right.
Which obviously is much cheaper than doing a parking garage and putting parking, underneath, which I suppose you can always do this. This is land banking. You could do that in the future, but.
We actually looked at one of these townhomes here as well. On the map, I was really intrigued by the location.
Yeah.
I saw the proximity to the grocery store, proximity to the light rail station that we're about to head to.
Yeah.
Then I got here and saw this, like, no way.
Yeah.
I don't want to look out my bedroom window and see a parking lot filled with cars half the time.
Yeah. Well, I'm glad you mentioned proximity, because that's one of the things that if you're just looking at the data and you're just kind of looking at maps or whatever, and you look at the scores of a walk score, it's all driven off of proximity. And so it gets a very high, quote unquote, walk score, and maybe even a high bike score. But since it's proximity driven, it doesn't really talk about whether it's a welcoming environment.
If it's comfortable, if it's safe, if it's inviting. Yeah, all these words, yes.
Yeah.
So we're about to cross 36th Avenue, which is another example of one of these streets that I think, if being done today, would look different, but multi-lane, major roadway.
Yep.
And we're going to go to the light rail station for Central Park.
Okay. And you say light rail station for Central Park. What line is running this direction, and what is that light rail serving?
Yeah, so this is the A line
Okay.
of the Regional Transportation District, RTD. It's the main transit provider in the Denver metro area. Passing through right now, really brand new, like plaza. I think just earlier this summer, they finished construction on it.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, A line. So it goes west. Let's go.
Let's go this way. Doesn't the A line go to the airport?
Goes to the airport and goes to downtown.
Okay.
So I will say,
that's what I thought.
in terms of like all the different lines that Central Park could be on,
Yeah.
I think it is pretty blessed to be on the A line. A line is the most frequent line.
Right.
It generally comes every 15 minutes, which many lines in the system only come a half an hour.
Yeah.
It goes to the airport, goes to downtown. Yeah. So this is pretty ideal. I realize we have it pretty good for commuting purposes.
Yeah.
That is a critique of RTD's light rail and commuter rail system. I guess if you want to get technical, I'd call it light rail, but it is technically, I think, commuter rail. It's a little heavier. Oh, here it is coming into the station. So that's heading west towards downtown. Here we go. So yeah, that is a critique of RTD's rail system, is that it's been based around the car.
Yeah.
So most stations are not in a very walkable location.
Right.
They have these huge park and ride facilities, which you can see behind you here. Huge park and ride facilities right next to the station. And so it really was designed with this thinking that people would drive from their home and their neighborhood to the station and get on the train.
Right.
As opposed to really trying to create a more walkable, truly urban environment.
Right.
And I think that's in part why the ridership has not met the projection, from original planning 20 years ago or so.
Yeah. And to that point, if we scan around here, we see the bus stations right over here. So we see the bus transfer stations here. And so if you're getting off the light rail here and you need to get on a train or a bus, you can get onto the bus over there and go to your next destination. But yeah, to your point, you've just got a massive sea of asphalt again, of surface parking lot in an area where, arguably you should have housing.
You want this to be the densest part of the development.
And really, when you look at a rail system like this, a transit system like this, it's the first 100 meters.
Right.
Let that sink in. First 100 meters is where you should have delightful stuff. And it's really not for, what, is that 500 meters for that brand new apartment complex? At least it's there.
Something like that, yeah.
That's new.
And that's brand new. I mean, it's just finished construction this summer, just started leasing.
Yeah. So yeah, it's a little far. Now, where's the bike parking garage?
Well,
the Utrecht style bike parking, the Amsterdam underground bike parking garage.
I don't know, maybe that's still to come. Maybe that's in the...
Oh, you mean it's not here yet?
They do have some bike lockers, which I guess is better than nothing.
Show me the bike lockers.
Sure, we can head there.
Let's kind of, because this is rather critical to your point. They're kind of missing the boat.
Right.
They missed the boat planning this decades ago, because this has been around for a while.
And it's a key lesson that if you spend any time studying what the Netherlands has accomplished, it's a key lesson you learn pretty on, is that transit bike connection.
Yeah.
You might often hear that critique about, well, people aren't going to ride 10 miles on a bike. Not everyone does that. And the Dutch say, well, yeah, absolutely, duh. That's why we combine these trips together.
Right.
And so just like you're alluding to, you can go to any train station in the Netherlands or many places in Europe, and you're going to find there is convenient, secure bike storage that is well used.
Yeah.
So yeah, let's head over there. Yeah, so the Dutch have learned that there is this almost like symbiotic relationship between biking and transit.
Yeah.
And that they both can support each other. So here it is. Here it is, John. Here's your Utrecht biking garage. So what is that? 1, 2, 10. I think it's space for, because they got doors on both sides here.
Wow.
So they have space for 10 bikes to be stored.
Have you ever put a bike in there?
I have not. I've been curious about it, but I have not done it. Honestly, when I commute to work, I go by my e-bike.
Okay, I see some more bike racks over here.
Yeah, I think they do have some other basic
Just
racks.
basic bike racks over here.
I definitely would not feel comfortable, just be honest, locking
Yeah.
a bike there the whole day.
Yeah.
If I was going to bike here and leave it, I would try and use the locker.
Huh. Now we do see on buses, the bikes are allowed on the front, and they do typically have some of the buses have storage underneath, but that bus right there can put 3 bikes on the front. You can roll your bike onto the train, correct?
That's correct. They do have some hooks, little racks on the train, so you can secure it. Capacity for maybe 2, 3 bikes.
Yeah.
So yeah, we do have some more storage down here. You got some more lockers in front of us, some more racks.
And to your point here, the reason why there are no bikes locked right here is, bike theft is an issue here in the Denver metro area. So if you like your bike, you may not have your bike here when you get back from your trip.
Yeah. Yeah, it shouldn't be necessary, but I'll be candid. The bike I'm riding right now is my my throwaway bike. I got this at a used bike shop for a pretty cheap price.
Okay.
So if I'm ever going somewhere, a bar for a night or something, I don't have to worry about it too much.
Yeah.
This is the
and
one
since
I'll
we're
use.
going out drinking after this, it's
There you go. You never
this
know,
is your
John.
throwaway.
This could end up being an all-nighter. I don't know.
Yeah,
So.
you never know. Yeah.
But
This
I
is
will
interesting. I thank you so much for showing me this, because this is very, 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 very interesting, and you're absolutely right. There's potential for it in the future, because as we mentioned in the other circumstance with this surface parking lot, it is a form of land banking where these surface parking lots can be reimagined, that we can actually build housing here and mixed use right here at the station, which is what it deserves.
And to that point, I do want to be clear about one thing and give RTD some credit here.
Yeah.
Because I think they have acknowledged that a lot of their stations, like this one, have too much surface parking.
Yeah.
It's underutilized.
Oh yeah.
I mean, we're only seeing a portion of the parking. Most of it, I would argue, what we can't see behind here, behind us, is not being used.
Right.
And so there is a development proposal currently going through the pipeline to redevelop a portion of these parking lots into mid-rise housing, similar to what we see to the left that you pointed out earlier.
Sure.
So I hope that moves forward. What I've seen through the initial plans, let's go left here. What I've seen through the initial plans, that urban planner me, always curious when to check out what's being proposed.
Yep.
It's a lot of residential, hardly any mixed use component.
Yep.
Which I think is a missed opportunity.
Yep.
I love what you said earlier about that first 100 yards.
Yeah.
So it makes me think about like stations in Europe where you walk out
and boom, yes.
There's ground floor retail, you got
Yeah.
restaurants, quick, hop in, pick something up and go kind of places.
Yeah.
Lots of pedestrian traffic in here.
Yeah.
Well, you see it.
Well, I'm going
Let's
to swing
go
the camera
left
around.
here.
I'm going to swing the camera around here and go look at this new plaza. And we're going to try to figure out what the hell they're going to try to do with this new plaza full of pavers and very fancy bike racks here.
I mean, it makes me optimistic that someday, someday there's going to be some structures on either side here that will really activate this new public space.
To your point, where we have our wildflowers right behind you, we have sunflowers right behind you. This is a vacant lot, and behind me, if I swing around, yes, on the other side of the plaza, next to our sea of parking and our bus terminal and our rail station is another vacant lot, which hopefully will be a mixed use, housing and stuff at the at the first floor, that retail and vibrancy, cafes. So we got trains coming in, we got buses coming in. As soon as people get off, they can actually see, oh, cool, there's a really cool cafe. I heard about that place. Nick was telling me, when you get off the train, walk through the sea of parking, and there'll be a wonderful cafe for you right where those wildflowers used to be. And then we've got a really kind of cool Wildflower Cafe, and we've got a really cool plaza area here with big concrete eggs, oval thingies here.
Some dinosaurs.
Yeah, no, I see what you're talking about. Yeah.
I will say though, I mean, it can be easy to be critical of what's not here yet, that sort of thing. But
well, this is the blank canvas right here. Yeah,
exactly. You got that, and the fact that they have the foresight to create this public space now.
Right.
So I imagine because this was built at the same time as this apartment building behind you there that just opened up. So I imagine this was part of some sort of like community improvement agreement, something along those lines, where the developer maybe had helped fund this a little bit.
Yeah.
So it does take foresight to proactively set aside space and keep it for public use.
Yeah.
Because if they hadn't done that, who knows? A new developer could come in and this could have all just been used by a building or a parking lot or whatever.
Sure. Okay, Nick, let's kind of roll this direction a little bit so we can kind of focus in on the other aspect of this little plaza area here. And let's assume that you and I are both correct, that there's going to be some activation, there's going to be some nice development going on in these green spaces to either side of this plaza area and this new street that was created here. The thing that just sticks out to me is that once again, they probably had plans and this stuff was drawn out decades ago, and then they probably added on the niceness of this plaza area as like an add-on. Where's the elevated bike lane up to sidewalk level? Where's the protected infrastructure for people on bikes? If you really want to have a situation where you're encouraging people who might be a little further away than walking distance to jump on their bike and go to, the train station and the bus station, and the fact that, one of the things that we'll do over in this sea of parking over here is we'll build a secure bike parking facility to encourage people to actually ride their bike to the train instead of driving everywhere for everything. Seems like it was a missed opportunity for authentic, active mobility infrastructure, given the amount of money they clearly spent on this plaza.
Yeah, I think I'd agree with you on that. Definitely more that could have been done. I mean, as we're standing here, it's a fairly lightly used street. You got buses coming through like you see here. I say the buses are the main user on this one little block.
Yeah.
There's also some redundancy. We have just, maybe 500 feet to the west here. Another street, you can see the intersection there. So, what could have been entertained in my mind, maybe this could have been like a transit-only shared street sort of design. Maybe you didn't even need to allow private vehicles to come through.
Well, and I'm even questioning why curbs, to the point of why not? If you're going to make this a plaza, why not really make this a people-oriented place? And if it's ultra low speed through here anyways, and you do primarily only have transit coming through, those are commercial drivers, they're professional drivers, they'll know to go 15 miles per hour, and then it's a more people-oriented place. But as it is, we've got a really wide lane, double yellow. That's not gonna be the type of environment that you're gonna feel comfortable with your children, riding on necessarily, because the painted bike lane probably isn't enough.
Yeah. And it's definitely not just for riding bikes up and down, but for pedestrians crossing back and forth.
Yeah.
It's not the kind of street where I would say, like, I'm just gonna walk out, you're definitely gonna stop. You're gonna look both directions. It just feels like you're crossing more of a divide.
Yeah. Well, yeah, and that's what I mean by why even have a curb here. If you're creating this plaza-like effect here, I may want to cross right here, right now, but if I'm in a wheelchair, I can't do that. I got to go way down here to the nearest curb cut. To be able to do that, but this feels like a place where I should be able to cross at any point in time. So I think a real missed opportunity in terms of the quality, the amount of money that they put into this. But it's easy to sit here and criticize and all that. But I mean,
and I wonder if the designer who knows? Maybe they pushed for something like that.
Sure.
Because you can almost see, they have the colored bands of concrete here.
Yeah, I mean,
there's clearly some consistency trying to be shown through the design of the hardscape.
Yeah. So
it makes me wonder if, maybe the designer was trying to accomplish what we're talking about, but there was some pushback or some issue, some insistence that it had to remain a curbed street with painted lanes.
So talk about that a little bit, because you're a planner by profession, right? Correct.
Yes. Yeah.
You're not an engineer.
I'm not an engineer.
And you're not a bureaucrat anymore.
No, not anymore. No.
But there is that pushback occasionally. You'll plan something out and you'll have this will be designed, but then you run into the buzzsaw of bureaucracy and codes and zoning and oh no, this is supposed to be this. So you're very right. It could have been. Very well could be right. It could have been designed where it was a plaza curbless, but that got shelved because of one reason or another.
Right. And I think we encounter this, those of us who are in my line of work or advocates, whoever, we encounter this across the country. I think it's changing, but traditionally there can be a lot of hesitancy, particularly in more the engineering side of things, about designs that we're talking about. A lot of times I think, having been a bureaucrat, as you said, I know what it's like. A lot of times agency staff who are often under-resourced, understaffed, have too much anyway, try and reduce the workload. And if that means they can just stick to what they already know, stick to the status quo, stick to the standards, which, something outside the standards just adds complexity or whatever.
And to be clear, you were one of those bureaucrats that were always pushing the envelope. You were trying to do more advanced
things. I was
things.
trying to be different, yes.
And getting beaten down by the status quo.
Yes, yeah.
So, okay, well, let's roll on so we can see some more good stuff. Where to next?
So we're going to go just a little bit farther north.
Okay.
I want to go to this overpass.
Okay.
And show you some highway and rail infrastructure that acts as a barrier for Central Park.
Okay.
And from there, we'll check out some of the greenway system.
Okay, sounds good. Let's do it.
Cool.
I'm just noticing too that this is literally a seating area here.
Yeah, seating area with little notches so skateboarders don't scuff it up.
Because we can't have skateboarders having fun.
No, we don't want that.
No fun. No fun allowed in our city.
We didn't say this directly, maybe kind of beat around the bush a little bit.
Yeah.
But there's also not a great bike connection to the station here.
Right.
So Central Park, little geography orientation here. Central Park is this huge, again, it's all the former, we'll take a right here. It's all the former airport. So it's this massive footprint. Yeah. Thousands of acres.
Right.
And it's bisected, east to west, we'll just keep going straight on the street here, through the highway and the railroad that we're about to take a look at.
Okay.
So everything that's north of that highway is, and the railroad, is completely cut off from the station.
Right.
Other than the one connection that we're about to ride on. This overpass is actually directly in front of us. This overpass you see here, that's the one connection. So if you live on the north and you want a bike to get to the train station, that's your only option.
Right.
And we're about to see what that's like.
Lovely.
And if you're on the south side, you are closer, you do have more options, but there's not a great option. And we'll see that later. So you have these pieces, you got great transit. You do have some nice bike facilities we'll see a little later, greenways. So you got all these little pieces of the puzzle that you need, but they're not quite fitting together as well as they could.
Right. What's interesting too is that we see, if we scan over to our rail lines here, we see that there's also freight rail just on the other side of that fence. And we can see the overhead lines, the electrical lines for the commuter line. But yeah, this is a major rail corridor there.
All right, now watch what I do here, John.
Okay, I'm gonna watch what you do
here. So I
here.
was just talking about how some pieces aren't fitting well together.
Yeah.
This is a prime example. We just left the rail station.
Yep.
Here's our bike connection.
Ah, lovely. So is this a no man's land in terms of responsibility? Who owns it? And trying to make this
To be honest, I have no idea. I just know I ride here. It's open, well, semi-open. You saw what we just had to do.
Yeah.
But it's not just me. This is a connection I've seen other people use.
Yeah.
I've heard about people using.
Well, you can see right down here, this is our multi-use path.
There's the
Yeah,
path. That's
that's
what
the
we're
path.
connecting to.
Right,
So if I were coming from my home
right,
to want to go to the rail station,
right.
I would probably get on this path. Let's use one up here.
Okay.
I probably would get on this path,
Yeah,
and then I'd get to this dirt trail, this, call it what you want, goat path, desire line,
yeah,
and make that connection that we just did.
right.
And that would be the most straightforward, safest connection for me.
Wow. And this is the Sand Creek Art Walk.
Sand Creek, yeah, Greenway here, got an
Yep.
art walk down there.
Yeah.
Got a nice counter.
There's a counter there.
So yeah, excitedly, we're on great infrastructure.
Yeah,
And the train station is just right there. It's
Right.
like I don't, it's such a small gap to fill.
It
And I don't know, maybe there's a background, but
yeah, it definitely does feel like it's a little missing gap that is possibly in an ownership limbo situation.
Could be,
Of,
could
you know,
be.
maybe that is like a remnant of railroad owned infrastructure right away, and the city doesn't have the authority to make that connection.
Sure. Yeah.
Which,
Again.
to your point, is some of the challenges that you all have to deal with sometimes.
Right, right.
Yeah. And now you can see we're into a vast network of the Sand Creek Greenway.
That's right. They have some, we'll go right here, but yes, the trail continues pretty much all the way towards downtown where it links up with a similar shared use path along the Platte River.
Right.
So you could take that all the way downtown, staying on this trail pretty much off street the whole way.
Right.
Not the most direct path, but
No,
it's
it's-
there. It can be done.
I think it adds 30 or 40%.
Oh, I can
if
see
not
that.
more.
Yeah, I've done it before with
It
my
goes,
family.
yeah, it creates a triangle. It goes out, and then you come back in
Right.
at an angle.
And you have to pass through an oil refinery,
Yeah.
which has wonderful smells.
Oh boy.
So we're gonna go right, to go on the overpass here.
Okay.
Get to a high point, stop and take in the view.
And again, there's the trail we just came up. And that is an extensive, part of an extensive network of trails. Quite amazing. Again, following a lot of the riparian corridors, the creeks and rivers. And again, here's that freight line, and just beyond the freight there, you can see the transit stop for the A line.
You can see beyond that, maybe you can make out the downtown skyline,
Yep.
just in front of the Rockies there. So what I wanted to point out, a couple things. So as I was saying before, you got the railroad. It's actually an interstate. If you could look this way, you can kind of barely make out the interstate just north of us.
Yep.
So that's dividing these two halves of Central Park.
Yeah.
And this overpass that we're standing on now, this is Central Park Boulevard. This is the only connection. Pretty much the only, there's one greenway that's kind of out of the way, but this is it. So bikes are expected to come up on the sidewalk just like we did.
Yeah.
It is at least a pretty wide path. You have a nice barricade there, so it feels safe.
Yeah.
But you are up here sharing space with pedestrians, so might have to watch out a little bit.
And that's not an issue. There's not very many. And, you know, I guess on the negative side, you're still sucking in the exhaust
Right,
because you're at this
Sure.
level, you know.
sure.
Yeah.
But to me, it's just the fact that if you look this way
Yeah.
to the east,
Yeah.
I mean, pretty much and everything you can see here in this foreground, that's all still a Central Park.
Yeah.
And so just the fact to me that there's not another connection
Right.
to get across, because the high school, for example, for Central Park, which it's in the public school system, but the high school that serves Central Park is to the north of us.
Okay.
So any high school students in the south here who want to get to school by bike, this is it, no matter where they live.
Wow. And it's miles too.
It's miles,
It's miles. I mean, you're not talking about a high school that is on the edge of the town, the edge of the village, and the edge of the town or village is 2 miles away.
Right.
It's probably what, 5 miles away, 6 miles away?
I guess, 5 miles or so. I'm thinking from my home, I think it's about 5, 6 miles,
Yeah.
And then Central Park, as you continue north, there is no on-street facility. You continue on the sidewalk.
Yeah.
They, again, it's pretty wide. They do have some setback crossings, which is nice.
Yeah.
But you also have to cross some interstate on-ramps, off-ramps.
Oh, wow.
So I'm comfortable doing it.
Yeah. But you're not going to let your kids
I'm not going to, as of now, with my young kids, no.
Yeah.
So,
And as far as multi-use pathways go, shared spaces, this is a pretty generous one. We're looking at, I don't know, what do you think this is, 14, 16 feet? It's pretty wide.
It's pretty wide, yeah.
Yeah, I'd say it's probably close to 16. These look, well, maybe it's 12. Here, march it out.
I'd say
Come
12
on, design.
or so, I don't know.
March it out, designer
I can try
dude.
my own.
Yep.
I'd say it's closer to 12.
Okay.
Yeah.
So about 12. So it's pretty generous, but at the same time, you know, especially if it's icy and snowy and all of that, you want to make sure that you're being careful up here.
Sure.
But to your point too, it's
Here we go.
You're in the midst of the automobiles.
Right.
Yeah.
And the urban design land use changes significantly as you go north here. You can kind of see it becomes very more car oriented. You got gas stations, large surface parking lots out front.
Yeah.
There's kind of an outdoor mall, like lifestyle center that's up there. You go even farther north, it does eventually get a little more similar in look and feel to what we saw to the south.
Yeah.
The Denver Major League Soccer Stadium is up there.
Okay. Yeah.
So why don't we continue south?
Okay.
We're going to stay on Central Park Boulevard for a while.
Yeah.
And you're going to see an example of where Denver has taken what was one of those streets, probably current era of great bike design, better bike design, and how they retrofitted it.
Okay.
So it was originally 2 lanes each direction with parking and a conventional bike lane. And a couple years ago, the city came in, they upgraded that bike lane to a protected bike lane using flex posts and paint.
Okay.
So we're going to check that out.
I like to call that enhanced separation.
Enhanced separation, there we go.
Instead of protection.
Yeah, separation.
There ain't no protection to a flex post.
Right.
Hence the word, flex post. Enhanced separation.
I like it.
You're more than welcome to use my term. To the best of my knowledge, I'm the first person to call flex post enhanced separation. You're cordoning off, you're creating that buffer, you're establishing the real estate so you can come in and do authentic protection later. But as of right now, it's enhanced separation.
Yeah, I like it.
Yeah.
I might steal it. Another term I usually use when talking with clients or people in the public, whoever, is interim design.
Yes.
I like that because I think it drives home the point that this isn't supposed to be the permanent solution.
Correct.
It's just a midterm fix.
Yes, exactly. I use that a lot as well. Yep. Simultaneously with enhanced separation, it's interim materials until authentic protection can be installed.
Right. So as we're going down Central Park Boulevard here, a few things I'd like you to be aware of and the viewers here. We already talked about how they retrofitted the street, so we'll see that here soon.
Yeah.
But also just look at the land use along here. I think this is one of the biggest missed opportunities in the entire Central Park development, in my opinion.
Yeah.
I think this had the potential to be a great urban boulevard.
Right.
with mid-rise mixed-use structures lining it. So we're going to merge into the enhanced bikeway here.
Yep. And even though we're using the lighter, quicker, cheaper materials for the actual buffer here, because we have parking, it is technically a parking protected facility.
That's right.
So
That's
yes,
right.
you can bring your protected in now. Enhanced separation, allowing for a parking protected bit of infrastructure.
There we go.
All works.
So yeah, you can see that, once you get out of where we just were near the train station and that overpass, fairly quickly becomes more traditional housing.
Yeah.
I guess we have some 3-story buildings here, but up ahead it's going to turn to just 2-story detached
Yep.
housing.
Yeah.
So a couple of things there I would say is that one, here we have an example of a protected intersection, semi-protected
Yep.
intersection using those interim materials.
Yep.
I'm actually not sure what happened on the corner in front of us. I guess they didn't put in the, because the bus stop there. Now I see it.
Yeah. Let's pull off to the side.
Sure.
Just past this bus station here, bus stop.
Gotcha.
So what's the story behind the doggy on the bike symbols?
So my version, I don't know if this is accurate. My version is what I've learned is that people in Denver really love their dogs.
Okay.
Everywhere, dogs everywhere
Yeah.
in this city. And so I'm thinking somebody's want to do something cute
Yeah.
for the bike lane icon
Yeah.
and landed on putting a dog there.
It's very whimsical. I love it.
is, yeah. Right.
It's
It's nice to have something that adds a smile as you're going about your day like that.
Yeah, and especially, given, you can relate to this, is given oftentimes municipalities are just, really hesitant to do anything that's not officially sanctioned in the MUTCD.
Right.
It's like,
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure I'm not gonna, thumb through that book and see a symbol of Fido on his bike.
Yeah, you're not going to find that in there.
So, kudos to them to do something fun,
Now, it was interesting. We actually, I don't know if you caught it there. There was a salmon rider heading straight towards us.
Yeah.
Which can often be an indication that the bikeway facility doesn't allow crossings
Yeah.
as good as it could or should.
Frequently enough. Although, if he came out of here, he could have just gone over, but maybe he was.
Who knows?
Maybe he popped out in mid-block or something. Who knows?
Well, whatever the reason,
Yeah.
I see that as an indication that something isn't as good as it could be.
Yeah. Well, I mean, honestly, in my opinion, you just don't need, a 4-lane highway rolling into your neighborhood.
Right. Yep.
I mean, especially since they're just hitting stoplight after stoplight.
Right.
I mean, their average speed.
Now let's look over our left shoulder here, John.
Yeah.
We have this merge, this crossing.
Yeah.
This, I hear a lot of complaints from neighbors
Well, of course.
about this right here.
Well, of course. I mean, that's ridiculous.
Yeah.
Again, it's automobile infrastructure first and foremost, and it's prioritizing level of service
Right.
of pushing as many motor vehicles as possible through the space.
We
And
have a red light here.
and in reality,
So you have
that just compromises the quality of life
Exactly.
of these residences
Oh, yeah.
here. Having, an intersection of 2 4-way or 2 4-lane highways intersecting, stroads is what there are. They're not
Right.
they're not highways because there's stoplights, and so there's stroads.
right.
So yeah.
Which again goes back to what I was saying with the land use, right?
Yeah.
If you had more like mid-rise structure with ground floor retail, you wouldn't have to worry. A resident who lives in this home right here in front of us, they wouldn't be looking out their window out front
Right.
towards all this traffic.
Right.
That wouldn't be a residence. They'd be higher up.
Right. And alternatively, you know, it's, again, the net speed that these motor vehicles are traveling is going to equate out to probably 15 miles per hour or less. So you might as well have reduced this to one lane in each direction and put a 15 mile per hour designed traffic circle in each of the roundabout in each of these intersections. And you would have netted out the same 15 miles per hour that they're getting now. In fact, they'd probably have better throughput performance in actuality. And so we come to our stop and we get to go because we got a green, but we could have actually gone because we have a Colorado safety stop.
Sure, if it's clear.
If it's clear.
Yep.
And it would have been because there was no turning traffic and there was no cross traffic. So
there again, another example of a interim design, protected intersection, except that time it was on all corners.
Yep.
A little nicer.
Yep.
So yeah, I mean, it really, like you're saying, they could have taken out potentially another lane. It really helps you realize how wide the lanes used to be, right? Because it was 2 lanes previously, 2 general purpose lanes previously.
Yeah.
It's 2 now.
Pull over right here.
Sure.
Yeah. So what I want to focus on from an urbanism perspective is what we see right here. We have basically what is considered a pocket neighborhood, where you've got your little public space right in a cluster of homes that are, you know, built around it. The major negative is, of course, they're fronting out on this 4-lane monstrosity. Again, if this were reduced down to 1 lane in each direction, at 15 to 20 miles per hour maximum design speed, this would be a much more pleasant environment for this wonderful cluster of homes. You know, they would actually probably occupy this space a lot more than they probably do on a regular basis.
Yeah.
And again, sending a huge thank you out to all my Active Towns ambassadors supporting the channel on Patreon, Buy Me a Coffee, YouTube Super Thanks, as well as making contributions to the nonprofit and purchasing things from the Active Towns store. Every little bit adds up and it's much appreciated. Thank you all so much.